Well. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back. I know. You probably were wondering where were we last week. Well, last week was E3, and there's a lot to talk about that. But point is, we are back. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Cafe Gracia experience, the one and only experience here on Sundays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whatever time in the world you are tuning in. Point is, we're back, better than ever. And we got a lot of stuff to cover as well, but you know how I am when it comes to these things. Enough of me ranting. It's time to present our esteemed guest. In fact, it's a returning guest. Yes, another returning guest. And the floor is all there. So, esteemed guest, the floor is yours.
What's going on, guys? How are we going today, everyone? My name is Rakunx. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this podcast. Manuel, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really glad to have you back, and
All good.
yeah. Hopefully the next time we will have face cams. Sooner or later that will be a thing. We will have my face, our beautiful
Definitely.
faces, and it will be much more dynamic. But for now, just listen in and just get high. So it is morning, but how have you been during this week? Especially it was such a crazy week that it was. Like I said, it was E3 and everything, and it's like, man, what?
I still have a feeling. I still have a feeling of the vibe of E3 still here. It's still there. I think it's kind of dying down. I don't know, from what I've seen, but I don't know. I was quite. I don't want to say disappointed, but how were you on it? For me, not so much. I think because I'm so hyped up for Bayonetta 3, or the desire for Bayonetta 3 only. But for other games, I was quite happy for other people. We had The Legend of Zelda, we had Metroid Dread. I know you have a new video out there that I'm dying to watch very soon.
Exactly.
And yeah, so how are you feeling on it?
With E3, since I almost saw everything, basically when it started, I started with Summer Games Fest, that people consider that to be part of E3, and we did our streamception, which was pretty
correct.
funny. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
It made me laugh. I'm like, wait a minute, why are you here? Oh, I'm in. It's like I'm
That was a
Uno reverse card on you. I'm like, you have to do it.
exactly.
It was fun. It was fun. I like those moments. And we did the same exact thing with the Nintendo Direct. But all in all, the first few days were okay. They, for some, they like. I'm one to not overhype things because I tend to tell people, listen, don't overhype for things because you're gonna really like ruin your expectations.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But with something as like impactful as E3, you kind of have to overhype because this is like the opportunity to present
it's
something.
a huge event.
Exactly.
It's a very huge event.
And there were just disappointments, like I'm a Square Enix type of person, I'm a Capcom type of person, not just Nintendo, and they were disappointments. Like with Capcom's case, we had an idea what they were already going to present, but at the same time I kind of wanted little surprises, like
Of course.
obviously Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter is a major thing with Capcom because it's one of the major selling things in Japan, specifically in Japan, kind of like Dragon Quest as well on Square Enix's front, but it felt so westernized. Do you get what I'm saying?
A westernized?
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of get you.
Yeah.
I'm more of. I was just like I was waiting for the Nintendo Direct, but you primarily didn't like the Capcom Directs. Like, how were they? They were kind of a letdown, you would say.
They were kind of a letdown if you didn't know already what they were going to present. But even if you did know what you were going to, but even if you did know what they were going to present, it was like, well, we already know these games are releasing, so why not something new? And the only thing new was, DLC for RE Village, which I'm not gonna say anything because you're in the middle of playing that, so you're streaming.
Yeah, no worries.
No spoilers, no nothing on that part. It's just that
There's spoilers in the comments, folks.
Yeah, exactly. They're just making DLC for that. It could be prequel.
Yeah, I heard that. I really heard that.
Yeah, exactly. And that was it. And then there was like a Monster Hunter Rise collab with themselves. So it's like, Capcom, what are you doing? What are you doing, Cap? So it felt disappointing. With Square Enix's case, they could have presented a lot of stuff if they just gave only 3 minutes of Guardians of the Galaxy
Ah, okay.
Because the entire presentation was Guardian of the Galaxy. It was literally like half of that, and then other half was just like
Other games?
like other games, like stuff that we already had an idea that they were going to be presenting, you know, like Life is Strange 3. We already knew that was going to be a thing. They didn't even bother to give us news on Final Fantasy 16. They didn't bother to give us news on Forspoken. They didn't give all of
any
that.
big games.
Exactly.
That's correct, yeah.
The only thing that was big was they decided to remaster the first 6 Final Fantasy games only for PC and mobile, and everybody got really mad because like, what about the Nintendo Switch? These were Nintendo games to begin with. Like, what happened there? So
yeah.
it was a little.
That's a weird kind of port.
Yeah, exactly. Basically, if you haven't seen the memes on Twitter or on Instagram, because I think you're more focused.
What's happening?
Yeah, they're like E3 was pointless. Like, it was just basically a Nintendo Direct. That was it.
Yeah, like I think the biggest one that I saw that really hyped everyone up was either Metroid Dread or even the mention of Metroid Prime 4 at a Nintendo Direct was kind of surprising. And also the Legend of Zelda sequel, or the Breath of the, it's called the Breath of the Wild sequel, right? There's no ending title.
The official title they have for it right now is the sequel to Breath of the Wild. So it could be called Breath of the Wild 2, or it could just be called something different, which I think will be something Sky related. Because if you look at the trailer, like everything's mostly like kind of like Skyward Sword, where you're above
correct.
the skies. So it's gonna be pretty interesting for that one. But Nintendo just won it. They just won E3. Like even though there was no competition with E3, like they were like, yeah, we're just gonna do it. First thing, Smash trailer, I popped off. That was like,
everyone liked that one. That was a good introduction for the Nintendo Direct, actually.
Everybody loved that. See, you say everybody likes it, but there was among the Smash community,
some haters.
Among the Smash community, we're like, what the hell is Tekken? And
oh my god, they don't know it.
Yeah, they don't know what Tekken is, and they're like, is Kazuya basically a Shoto, which is like Terry, Ryu, Ken, like that type. And then it's like they went mad. I'm like, first of all,
they get mad with everything.
Yeah, they get mad. Yeah, what's the point of getting mad for a character? There is no wasted slot. I've said that in a Smash video. I like, there is no such thing as a wasted slot. Each character is there for a reason. And whether or not they're disappointing to you. Other people may have enjoyed it. A lot of people,
exactly.
A lot of people wanted their character. Like for me, a Tekken rep was a rep that I've always wanted. I always wanted a Bandai Namco rep. It was either Klonoa, which was a platformer, or a Tekken rep. And as soon as I saw
and this finally came. That's cool.
I finally I feel like, damn, I feel right for once. Like I finally got a prediction correct. And
that's cool, man. Congrats.
Yeah, and it's just like the trailer. Like I don't know how you reacted to it. Like
I didn't get the references, but I saw some people in the chat understanding the whole throwing off a cliff reference, the lore of Tekken. They're talking about it in the chat. So I was kind of intrigued by it. You've played Tekken, I'm assuming, right?
I essentially grew up with Tekken.
Oh, that's cool.
I grew up with knowing Tekken 4 and 5, which were the major ones back then. The funny thing is, I never really get a chance to fully play a Tekken game. It's just I grew up with it because of my own, like seeing my uncle and then watching old YouTube videos of like Tekken.
Oh, those are the days. And the golden era of YouTube.
Exactly. Like I remember growing up watching like the prologues and epilogues of those games and how like, wow, this is so cool. And like I remember those moments. And I remember going to a place here in America called Boomers, where it's like an arcade like place, and they had Tekken there. Yeah. So I was able to play like the arcade version of Tekken 5 there, and it was an amazing experience.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then like console wise, like Tekken 7, the recent one, is where the one I'm like really enjoying watching, like both like competitively and also casually. Like I really enjoy that game.
Yeah. I do remember playing it on the PSP. I remember taking my friend's game and borrowing it for a little bit. But I only thought it was a PSP game. Was it on any other console?
It was basically, I think it was for the PlayStation. Tekken was around
Oh,
the 90s.
sorry. Say that again. Yeah, I think it cut out a bit. Sorry.
Yeah, so Tekken 1 released in the mid 90s for the PlayStation, and it was mostly a PlayStation thing. It was also arcade because there were a bunch of arcade machines they would do for like.
I remember those ones. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it was console / arcade style, and the
Right.
in terms of the references, like I knew exactly like the references, everything. Things like what the throwing off of the clip, like that was a reference to Tekken, to the first two Tekkens, and then obviously like
his father or something. I feel.
Yeah, basically his dad just threw him
yeah.
off of a cliff of a volcano, and then he did the same.
If he wasn't strong enough or something.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I see.
Basically, yeah.
Right. That's cool.
And there's a moment where I don't know if you saw where they were in like the ring, the boxing ring in Smash, and then there's King K. Rool with Kazuya, and there's like the camera was looking on top of them, and they were like ready to fight each other like with their fists. That's a reference to when you boot up any of the fighting games, to
The Tekken games.
The Tekken games, you have Jin and Kazuya ready to like fight each other like that. So that was a neat reference there.
Oh, nice parallel.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there was also one more where I don't remember. Man, I don't remember. But there were a lot of references, mainly from like the first 4 games. You know, and music and things like that. It was just
And
incredible.
you said the most renowned ones were 4 and 5, right? Is that what you were saying before?
The more iconic ones will always be 4 and 5 because people really grew up with those 2 games, and they really grew up
I see.
with the story between those 2 games. You know,
Right. That's cool.
And the cast of characters in those games were incredible. People really enjoyed the newcomers that were in, as well as the old ones that were a part of your first 3. And music and everything as well, they really enjoyed it. Like that was peak Tekken for a time.
And when does the fighter come out?
Knowing Sakurai, he likes to end things within the year, so he's gonna present Kazuya on the 28th.
December, I believe.
So in terms of when he's releasing, most likely in early July or maybe that week. Sakurai likes to make sure like, I'll present the character, and then when he releases, it's usually like a few days after or something.
Right.
Like that.
I see.
In terms of the last fighter though, we could see it in November, December. And that's it. Yeah. And that's it. That's the last of the fighter pass. Anything else?
I don't know. Have you done any predictions on who do you think the last fighter one is?
At this point, anybody.
Crash?
Anybody. A lot of people want Crash. That's the funny thing. A lot of people want Crash.
Know. I've never played Crash Bandicoot, but I feel for the people that really want him in Smash, and I'm pretty sure there are people that don't want him in Smash. Am I correct?
It's just when it comes to like Smash predictions and things like that, it's a gamble, honestly. Like you either want this character or you're getting somebody else. Like, and there's gonna be a bunch of haters. There's gonna be a lot of people saying like, "No, these characters don't deserve to be in Smash. This character cannot be in Smash. This character," things like that, and they'll try to like rationalize it with, "Oh, there's too many like sword characters." There's only there's only like 10 out of the.
But it doesn't really matter
something.
In a sense, like.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, as long as it helps. I mean, if it makes some people happy, I mean, you've hit the target right over there. But like, I think the people who are complaining about the Smash fighters, do they have something? They have nothing else to complain about. I don't think it's something rational to complain about.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yeah, that's the reality when it comes to complaining.
Yeah,
for Smash
it
characters.
happens.
You know it. And I'm more of like, whoever it is, they deserve it. You know, that's like Steve from Minecraft. He's there for a reason. You know, like, will I play him?
Funny. I
Not
enjoyed
as much.
that.
You know, yeah, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Like the point with Smash Fighters is that at the end of the day, they're there. You know, just if you don't want them, just don't play them.
Don't play them.
Exactly. You know, they're there for other people. Not everybody is. You know, Sakurai is not gonna fit everybody in. He's gonna fit the ones that he feels are the most worthy. And I think that's probably why people complain a lot, where they're like, "Oh no, this character is worthy," and those some are. You gotta pick the one that just stands out the most, and you Kazuya just does that, you know.
Yeah. And even so, when they complain either on Twitter or on YouTube, it's still free marketing for Smash Ultimate.
Exactly.
And that's ultimately their goal as well. When they pick out the fighters, which one is going to get the most response? Even if, sadly, even if that response is negative, in most cases it will be, it's still free marketing for them.
Exactly.
And,
they're still making money at the end of the day off of us complaining. That's
100%.
and another thing also is that all the characters that are in the fighter pass is to expose people of those games
to
if
those
you haven't
games,
realized
exactly.
it. Because I just
yeah.
like Joker, the first one in Smash, was to remind people that there are other RPGs than just Pokemon, than just Earthbound, than or Final Fantasy. There's also Persona. There's also Shin Megami Tensei. So Joker reminded people of that. Hero in the Dragon Quest, it was to remind people that Dragon Quest is being more mainstream. A lot of more Western people are looking forward to playing the Dragon Quest franchise. And Banjo was just to remind people of the nostalgia. It's like, oh, listen, Banjo still exists. You can still get the game somewhere, And
as well as Bayonetta as well. If you speak to some people, a lot of them, a good portion of them knew about Bayonetta from Smash. I knew about Bayonetta from Smash.
Yes, same.
Seeing her in the posters. So yeah, it does remind people of especially Sephiroth. I remember Sephiroth coming out. It made me think of, are they marketing Final Fantasy VII the remake? Are they marketing the Intergrade because they're ready for Intergrade? It does have that business aspect to it as well.
Exactly. Sakurai presents characters that he knows that people are, that there's an audience out there that are not familiar with certain games. And it makes sense. If you look at all the characters, there's people personally, I never experienced the Xenoblade the Xenoblade Chronicles series, and thanks to Pyra Mithra, I'm enjoying the first game. I'm literally
that's good.
Exactly. I'm not even done with the first game. I'm literally 3 chapters away from finishing, and I'm already 90 hours in.
Wow, 90 hours. That's cool.
It's a really long game. It's like
yeah. Is it the one with a huge map? I heard it's a very big map, bigger than GTA.
Both games have huge maps. I'm not
I
sure.
heard about that.
Xenoblade is basically an open world RPG. That's it is big.
Is it on Wii U?
There is a Wii U game. So the first Xenoblade, which is, if we're talking in Smash roster, is Shulk. So Xenoblade Chronicles 1 was released for the Wii, I think in 2010, 2011, close towards the end of the Wii era. And many people really enjoyed that game. Then in the Wii U era, I think in 2014-15, they released Xenoblade Chronicle X, which is different. It's like Final Fantasy, where Final Fantasy 1 and Final Fantasy 2 are completely different stories. You can play either game and you'll still enjoy. And then when the Switch initially launched, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out, and then in 2 years ago they did the definitive edition. Or I think it was last year. They did the definitive edition for the first game, which is the one that I'm playing.
I see.
Yeah. Which you should totally play when you have a chance.
Xenoblade. I've seen my friends play it on the Wii U, so that's why I only thought it was on the Wii U. But it is ported on the Switch, is it?
The Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and 2 are for the Switch. People want Xenoblade Chronicles X, which is to be ported over to the Nintendo Switch.
With RPGs, what I was really hoping for with E3, and I don't know if it was wishful thinking, but Yoko Taro, he did say that he was working on another game, another project, not confirmed to be near sequel or near 4 or maybe Drakengard remaster, but I was really hoping for that for the Square Enix, because what was the most exciting thing at Square Enix for you? The Square Enix Direct.
Nothing. Honestly, no, nothing. Nothing. I guess I was just more hyped for Nintendo. No.
Yeah, I think everyone was just waiting for Nintendo.
Everybody was honestly like, okay, when's Nintendo? Okay, Nintendo. Nintendo. Like that's like the.
And then, but I'm really glad they finished strong with that, with the Legend of Zelda, stuff. But in terms of Square Enix, I was really hoping for Yoko Taro just to come out and say something about his new project, which I was really excited for. Oh yeah.
I think the thing with Yoko Taro is that he's very. I don't know. He's
like a kind Kamiya.
Exactly. He's basically like Square Enix's Kamiya. He just doesn't. It's you just have to not expect anything from him to expect something.
Correct.
You know, that's how you have to tackle him and Kamiya. Just don't expect.
And how
something.
he deals with news.
Yeah,
don't expect anything with Mr. Kamiya.
Don't expect anything, and when you want to. And I like that mentality. You know, like don't expect anything now. Just wait until it happens. When it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Just shut up. You know. Like,
exactly.
Like,
yeah. And then you'll be excited. So like I think if you keep expecting it in terms of like to not in a memeingly way. We do it in a memeingly way.
Right.
Like, oh, there's no Bayonetta 3, haha. Like Clownonetta 3. But like there are some people out there that really take it seriously and feel like they're so entitled to have news for it. And like in terms of like death threats, when they reach that point of sending death threats to the developers or bagging the developers out of it, talking shit about them online and just making them feel they have a bad day or they don't deserve to live. I think that's to the point like, all right, calm down. You're not funny anymore.
At that point, it's like you're just being an asshole, you know?
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Right, and I do understand. Like, obviously, you and I, we were expecting Bayonetta 3, but at the same time, like, on the times, right?
We were not.
Right?
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
It's just 4 years. If you think about it, Metroid Dread, a lot of people knew
19,
about
isn't it?
A lot of people knew about a Metroid Dread 15 years ago.
Yeah,
so they waited.
Very long time ago.
They waited, and a lot of people waited for Final Fantasy 15 as well, back when it was originally Versus 13, and that was 10 years. And then there's Kingdom Hearts 3.
Exactly.
Like, we can wait another year or so for Bayonetta 3 or Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you know, it's as long as there is like dedication to it, because it's one thing to be like it's one thing to like make a game and then be like, we spent so many years on it and then there's like zero effort into it. That's where I'm like, either the budget just wasn't there and Square was like, you can make it, or like a company in general was like, you can make it, but we just think this is going to be a dead project, or they just didn't really care at that point. It's like,
exactly.
You know,
and I feel that Mr. Kamiya and his team at Platinum Games and Nintendo, I'm pretty sure they are working hard at it and they're passionate about it. It's just that Nintendo tells them you can't say anything about the game. And that's it.
Yeah, my thoughts on Bayonetta 3, and I think it's the same thing with Metroid Prime 4.
Prime 4, right?
Is that they wanna excuse me there. They wanna they wanna present people with newer IPs that were probably focused on way back during the Nintendo Switch era. Because you have to think about it. A lot of games are coming to the Switch this year and next year compared to all the other years before that. So you gotta you have to ask yourself a following question: how long did these games take to be made?
Yeah, like
specifically for a console that's gonna have back-to-back games in the coming months. So you have to ask, like, they must have made this, they must have been working on these games since the inception.
Even back then.
Exactly, since
of the Switch, exactly.
Or like towards the end game of the Wii U era. So like 2015-16, they must have been started working on these games. And obviously they didn't have that technology, and once they started taking things into consideration with the Nintendo Switch and its sales, there they must have been like, okay, now we have a better understanding of the technology. Now we can work more on what we already have with these IPs. And I think that's what must have been. And the reason I say that is because of Metroid Dread. Because the fact that, I don't know if you stayed for the Treehouse event, but the people, I think the people behind Metroid as well, Mercury Steam, which are the developers of the upcoming game, They were saying that originally they wanted to make that game back during the Prime era, during the Metroid Prime era of 2002, 2004, after Metroid Fusion.
Wow. Okay, so it has, for them, it was like 19, more than 15 years of development, or like thought of.
Right, somewhere around that time. So around Metroid Fusion, which released around 2002, I thought it was 2004, but I had to edit that in the video, in the current video that should be up.
You're alright with that.
Yeah,
no worries.
They were like, no, we can't make this game. We can't make it now.
Mm-hmm.
We don't feel like it's time for this game to be released with this current technology. So they waited, and they waited until the proper moment, until they saw with Mercury Steam that they remade the second Metroid game to the 3DS, and they were like, there's our chance. Let's revive Project Dread and let's make it into a reality. And that's where they were like, and just by looking at that, just by understanding that mentality, that's the same reason why Metroid Prime 4 is taking the time that it is now, and Bayonetta 3 is taking the time that it is now. So another year or two, it's honestly fine, especially after a 19-year development hell. You can't compete with that. You just can't.
I think when the moment Metroid Dread came out, it gave Bayonetta 3 a huge breather, especially for the developers. They waited how long? More than 15 years to get this game out there, and they've been thinking about it. They've been developing it, coding it, all that stuff, marketing it, but it's just marketing it to investors. What I mean, with Bayonetta 3, I do feel, because they did say, and I said this in a previous video, they did say that they wanted to innovate Bayonetta, paraphrasing, innovate Bayonetta, as well as I wouldn't say, be a turning point for the company, quote unquote, for Platinum Games. So whatever they're doing, if they're testing out new engines, maybe, who knows, for maybe a Switch Pro or another or something else, I don't know. It will take a while to take something to get to be innovated, and I think we have to give them that sense of respect for them, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And you also have to keep in mind that hack and slash formula is very old. It is a very dated style of,
it is very
of gameplay.
Correct.
And the same case can be made with Metroidvania style games. That's why many of the games that, for many indie developers, if they want to make a Metroidvania style game, they go with a retro setting. I don't know if you notice that.
They do, isn't it?
Yeah, they do.
2D, it's still 2D. Metroid Dread is 2D, isn't it?
Yeah, Metroidvania games will always be 2D because that's the way they function. They can't function at a 3D scale. Metroid Other M is the exception to that rule.
Can't hear anything. Sorry, man. Yeah, my wife. Australian internet is really bad.
Man.
So what did you say? Summarize. What did you say?
I was saying that basically Metroidvania games will always be 2D. They'll always be 2D no matter what type of game it is.
Right.
The only exception is Metroid Other M, which was a 3D Metroid fused into a 2D style aspect.
I see.
And that game has its own mixed reception. I personally enjoyed that game, but a lot of people were like, nah, it wasn't Metroid. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, do you play any other type besides Nintendo, Square Enix, Capcom? Do you play any other games, by the way, like FPS, any of those ones?
Nah, I can't with FPS.
All right, I see. No worries.
Yeah. No, I can watch streamers who do that. I can watch funny moments on YouTube, like that type of stuff. I can't play FPS. It's not.
No worries.
It's not really.
All good.
It's not really my thing. The exception is Metroid Prime, like those games, because that's technically FPS, but it's
still playable for you. I see.
It's
that's
also
fine.
Metroid.
100%.
So, exactly.
And it's your brand, so it's Metroid. I see.
Yeah. Well, I don't really have a brand. Nintendo, I guess, would be a brand. Nintendo, I want a jacket. Give me a jacket.
Oh my god, yes, that would be so cool. Please, Nintendo, give him a jacket.
Give us a jacket. Give us a jacket already. I want a jacket.
I would say I'm more. Oh yeah, Nintendo. Oh yeah, Bayonetta is under Nintendo. That's correct.
Yeah, exactly. It's technically Nintendo. But going back with Bayonetta, it's like that. The hack and slash formula is very dated, if I'm being honest.
Very.
So if they're taking the time to make sure, like you said, to be innovative and to expand on it, then it's fine. Honestly, like they could take notes off of Astro Chain as well. And I think you were talking about that in your video as well, where Astro Chain was really innovative. It was still hack and slash, but it didn't feel like hack and slash, at least to me.
It was new.
Exactly.
Correct. It was new.
And that was the highest selling Switch game of that year.
Oh, okay, I see.
As well.
Yeah, so how are they going to up that? How can they up that? And with Astral Chain, I believe that was Platinum Games. I would say middle finger, or middle finger to Nintendo, saying we can make a good game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Bayonetta 3, it will come out eventually. I don't think it's cancelled, no way. It's just that they can't say anything. Yeah, and I understand Mr. Kamiya's frustration for the quote-unquote fans that are bagging them. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's just like it's whatever. Just deal with it. I will say though that I don't know if you ran into the development of Astro Chain, but as soon as they finished with Bayonetta 2, they went straight with Astro Chain. So it was technically in Wii U with Wii U software at that time.
Ah, right.
So from 2014,
and they released it when 2019. So
5 years. Exactly. So 5 years.
Yeah, it's long. It takes a long time to make these games.
It takes a long time. Like there are a lot of games out there that you think that they must have released like on a yearly basis. No, they might be releasing on a yearly basis, but their development. They must have taken a long time.
Yeah. It's scheduled. It's not like they finish it, then they do it. They finish it, trial it, test it, heaps of things go through. Like, it's a really long process, and people, some quote-unquote fans don't understand that.
Exactly. Another example is Breath of the Wild 2. It looks the same as Breath of the Wild 1 because it's a new engine, first of all. So it's kind of like the same mentality. A lot of people are comparing Breath of the Wild 2 to Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask, where they're like, they're just going to reuse the same assets and not be bothered making new ones. Meanwhile, I'm like, Link looks completely different. I think they've
done something.
Yeah, they're not reusing assets. They really are. They're reusing the engine, but they're not reusing assets like how Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask was. Where it's like, okay, yeah, you can make the case there. Yeah, okay. But no.
Because at this point, I think they know that the fans will see if they reuse stuff.
Right.
They know that. So they're going to make something new. And yeah.
Right. And Breath of the Wild 2 looks new. Regardless.
Yeah, is that Link's new outfit? That's not an old outfit, right? That's a completely new one? The one where he has a different arm?
Yeah, that's the thing with Breath of the Wild 2. There's so much to look forward to with that one. Because the way the trailer presented itself is that you got everything, but you also got nothing at the same time.
Right. Exactly.
So you have an idea as to how the game will be like from a scale, from a map scaling perspective.
From a context point of view, yeah.
But from a context, it's like, why is Zelda dead? Why does Link have a prosthetic arm?
It's like, why? Right. Exactly. It's hard to tell,
they're really upping their scales with the story here, and that's what makes it all more exciting when it releases in 2022. And that's also another thing. We finally have a release date for Breath of the Wild 2, so people can't complain for that anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Next year, right?
Next year. Elden Ring, people can't complain about that anymore. That has a release date, January of 2022. And people can't complain anymore because we're having a Gen 4 remake for Pokemon.
And those ones, yeah.
Exactly, that's the thing.
That's
also the thing. Like, a lot of people at this point, this year and next year are years of games. It's the year of nostalgia and games, where it's like people are going to, and not just that, and it's also like showing a big middle finger to us that, you want to complain about development hell? Oh, okay. By the way, we were ready for this. Like, we will give you the most badass trailer and shove you the middle finger up your ass you wanted a release date. Here you go. Now fuck up. Like, that's also another thing.
I know, right? And I also think that since it's 2021, it is a there's a lot of 10-year anniversaries, 15-year anniversaries. So I think it's a good idea that they're getting, I would say, getting rid of all the nostalgia games. Get them out first.
Right.
Get those out. Get them out first, and then when the decade progresses, I feel that's when you can introduce new and newer games, Bayonetta 3 and all these other stuff. But with the remakes, how do you have any new thoughts on them for the remakes?
Look, I don't know if you've been seeing on. I think the last time we spoke, we were talking about this. No, I think I was talking about somebody else. There's been someone on YouTube that is legit making their own Sinnoh remake.
Like, and is that an actual game or just fan a trailer?
It's like fan. It was originally a fan trailer, but apparently that person is going ham on making it a full thing. And
do they like the? I'm guessing they don't like the official.
I'm guessing
remakes?
they don't. Yeah, I'm guessing they don't, and they want. But this isn't a good thing too, because it could, if it gets a lot of hype and a lot of attention, maybe Game Freak will be like, we could hire this person. This person clearly has, this person clearly has ambition, and we. So it could be like with Sonic Mania, where it was a bunch of people that were fans of Sonic, and they were like, we can make a better game than you, and they were like, oh, okay, bet. So that's basically. Hopefully that's the same case with it. But I mean, at the same time, like, if it's playable, I don't mind it. It's for nostalgia.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
It's not. I can.
It's for that emotion of, I remember this. Oh, I miss this feeling.
Yeah,
it's like that's what they're trying to trigger for you.
And for new fans, it's just a way for them to
see how we felt,
how we played it.
Essentially,
that's how I see it. Yeah. That's how I see the Gen 4 remakes, and why they're the way they are, the chibi art style at this point, where it's like they want to provide the old players who grew up with that generation the nostalgia of how we played it. Meanwhile, the new generation, they get a feel of how Pokemon used to be. Because that's also another thing.
That weren't even born yet.
Exactly. That's also another thing. Because if you compare the Let's Go games to the original, Red and Blue, or even Violet and Leaf Green, it's a completely different thing. And the same can be said with Generation 3, where they remade Hoenn and they did Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and it's completely different. It's completely different. But with Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it's 1-to-1 because they felt like it's a remake, but at the same time, people grew up, like, we don't want to butcher it and make it too new. And so that's why they kept it to how it is.
Yeah, and also why I think that's why they also released the Pokemon Legends, and I think if you want to see the 3D, the new type of 3D Pokemon world, that's what you play. But I think people wanted that for the Diamond and Pearl remakes, but well.
It's just that a lot of people really, they really need to understand that their expectations will never be fully met. No matter what it is that you want, they're like all the expectations. So with Pokemon's case, like, you have to understand, Sword and Shield. If I'm being honest with you, that felt like a beta test for Legends, because it feels like they're reusing the same engine, the same models. And they were like, let's enhance it. Apparently people seemed to enjoy how that game was presented, so let's amplify it and make it better.
Even more, improve on it. I see. Yeah.
And also, they just want to try new things.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They just
go ahead.
They just want to try new things. That's basically it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And people will like it eventually. I think those complainers just got nothing else to complain about, and they're gonna get it anyway, or they won't. And I think they just need somewhere to release their stress. Sadly.
Look, they're just gonna be missing out. We're gonna be playing with friends online. How it was in the old days, except we don't have to actually be next to each other to get the Wi-Fi connection, and it is what it is.
That was a new thing in like 2006. I remember that when Wi-Fi gameplay was a big thing.
Yeah.
When it first came out, that was really cool. That's very nostalgic to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Now everyone's doing Wi-Fi battles.
Right. Like, I remember the Wi-Fi battles. I remember, like, they were really fun for me. Like, after school, My friends and I, we would have like I don't know. It's like an after-school program. After school, basically, it would just be someplace while our parents would pick us up at like 5 or 6, whatever.
Yeah.
So we would ready out our DSs, and we were like, "Who wants to play a game of Pokemon?" And
oh my
it was
goodness.
the most exciting thing. Like I remember.
You're gonna make me cry. I still remember that.
I know, right? I remember the times where we were literally sitting face to face, and then there was like a ring around us just waiting to see, oh, what's he gonna do, and it was just amazing. it was legit an amazing experience, like and I think that's just what Game Freak that's what
wants
always
to do.
made Game Freak you know, the way they are. You know, we could complain about how they handle graphics, we could complain about, you know, the amount of Pokemon they'll present or whatever, things like that, but at the end of the day, the reason you're playing Pokemon is because you want to be a kid again. You know. That's
actually a great quote. That's a great quote, actually.
You just want to be a kid and go and and explore and.
Yeah, exactly.
And be the very best. Like that's basically what it is.
It's a very wholesome quote, actually. Yeah, you tend to be the very best. Yeah, and then that anecdote, that story that you put out. Like I think the people who do watch this podcast will feel a sense of it, especially the generation that was with us doing that. Exactly. I remember staying at home every weekend and playing the hell out of Pokemon Pearl and Diamond. That was really fun. So
yeah, I just like that's just the thing with Game Freak. Like they don't have to be innovative. They're not like Platinum
correct.
Games. They're not like, you know, Nintendo.
They've already got the market of those gamers that played it and are loyal to them, so they don't need to innovate.
Yeah, no, they don't have to innovate, because you also have to understand that Pokemon at the end of the day was always targeted for when we were like 10 to 13 year old, you know, like we still play it now because of the nostalgia of it, but in reality,
exactly, yeah,
Pokemon was just always meant to be a child-like RPG. You know, but
100%.
we as adults, we complain about it because we've experienced a lot of other games like Devil May Cry, which was innovative.
We have a bigger palette now,
exactly,
than when we were kids. Yeah,
and so that's why we complain. I think that's just in life in general. I think the reason people complain a lot is because they have big expectations that will never be
bigger pool,
exactly, that will never be fully met, and they just have a big palette to fill. They want to fill up everything, but if you just fill up the things that are necessary, then you'll be content, and that's
I think that it's the emotion of being content and the what's that word? It's the respectability? No, not that one. But it's having the ability to be content with what you have, having the basic necessities, and I think not expecting too much to the point of you complaining every single time. If you're complaining every single time, I don't think you're living life.
No,
so
exactly.
You just exactly.
And that's the thing that a lot of game complainers need to understand. I'm coining that, game complainers.
Complainers.
Yeah,
game complainer.
Exactly. I'll even make that into a shirt if I want to think so. Whatever. That's the thing with like game complainers is that they, like, I think the main root of their complaining is because they played their very first innovative game, and we can't deny. Like at some point, you and I, we must have complained about a game that feels dated. That feels dated, but in reality it's not.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a fan. You were, or were you a fan of Astral Chain?
I loved Astral Chain. People like
Yeah. I'm so glad. I'm very happy for you. It wasn't my cup of tea, especially the for me, it's just the clunky gameplay. Everything else was beautiful. I loved it.
You know,
I just couldn't get around the controls, and I didn't really enjoy it.
Yeah, the fact that there's no jump button. Yeah, I feel you.
Oh my god, yeah. That I mean, I think I'm so engraved with Bayonetta.
Exactly.
So, but I'm so happy for the people that really enjoyed it though.
Right.
So I think that's how people should complain. Like you can complain about a game, but I don't think you should ruin it for everyone else. So
right, exactly, and it also ties in to Smash as well. Like people are complaining a lot because it's like it's not the character that deserves. Like obviously we've rambled on that already, but I just cannot stress the fact that they're there so you get exposed to new games. Smash is not there to tell you that this is the only thing for you to play.
That's true. It is a huge marketing platform. They have these discussions with other companies. Do you want your fighter in here? Here are the numbers. Here, this is our projected marketability for this character and for your game. We'd love to have you on. So there's heaps of talks that go through it. They don't just say we want this fighter in.
Exactly. So, and you also have to
people don't see that.
And you also have to consider, and I think we could kind of end the whole Smash conversation here, for sure. Is that this is one person working on everything if you think about it. Sakurai is both the developer and the beta tester and the manager for Smash. Obviously Bandai Namco is co-developing, obviously they're also helping, but at the end of the day Sakurai is the one that is putting all the effort in.
A lot of his work. Yeah, heaps of work into it.
That is his work. That is his baby right there.
It's his vision.
Aside from Kirby and Kid Icarus, which are also his babies as well. That's why in all the trailers,
Yeah.
Well, except Pit. He killed Pit in the latest one, and that's his creation. Kirby's immortal. That one you can that
was really adorable.
That's his precious.
That was adorable.
Boy. That's our precious.
In terms of the Switch Pro, do you have any predictions with that? Do you think it exists? Do you think it doesn't exist? I know there are some people on YouTube saying it cannot exist. So what are your thoughts on it? I want to hear.
Let's take a look at Nintendo real quick, at the history of Nintendo. The only time they did something that is called a new or a Pro was the new 3DS. And the only difference with the new 3DS was just the design. It's the same thing as a regular 3DS when it released in 2013.
Yeah.
Now, Nintendo has never ever done an enhanced version of their consoles.
Yeah, they haven't actually.
They've never done that. So it would not be unrealistic to say that they're not doing it because they've always been consistent with that.
And it goes back to, sorry for interrupting. I think it goes back to that fact. They don't need to. It's Game Freak and Nintendo. They don't need to innovate. So I think they will have customers. They will have loyal fans to say, even if they don't have an enhanced console. But yeah, keep going.
Right. They could do updates, because that's also the thing. At this point, you can update the hardware and the software without needing to make something new at this point. Look at when we have to update our phones for a new, if you're Apple, an iOS update. If you have the memory to do that, then you'll be fine. So for new Nintendo Switches that are to be released in the future, when they remanufacture them and things like that, they just have to take into consideration they would have to put in a certain cache or a storage for them for future updates of a Switch, so that they could continue producing games and not have, drawbacks or lag in certain areas.
Yeah.
And but in regards to if they do end up doing a Switch Pro, then it'll just look the same as a regular Switch, just with Pro slapped on it. They'll do the same exact thing as they did with the new 3DS. It's new, but it's still the same thing.
Essentially the same thing.
Exactly.
I think people, when they hear Pro, they think of PS4 to PS5.
Yes, and that's
I don't think it's gonna be that extent. No way.
No, it's not even with if you compare PS4 Pro, it's very minor enhancements. If you think about it, it's
I think it's only little upgrades.
Exactly,
and that's it,
and there's no point. It's not like PS4 to PS5 where you can see it. You can actually see the difference in graphical scaling and graphical enhancements.
100%.
But there's just no point. So to fully answer it as simple as it can be, yes and no. That's how I see it. Yes and no.
Yeah, I think a lot of people say that. The only changes, the only thing I would say, if they were to release a quote unquote Switch Pro, it's not going to be to the extent of Xbox Series or the PS5. I don't think so. I think
No.
just minor upgrades to the hardware and that's it, and to the software. That's it. Yeah, like it just sounds pro, literally, in a sense.
Because at the end of the day, and this all ties back to what we were saying, that they don't have to be innovative with Game Freak. Nintendo just needs to make games. You know. Well,
true.
like, let's go back. What was the purpose of a video game before we started having the debates of, oh, this has this amazing graphics, or this has an amazing set piece, blah blah blah.
It was to escape. It was to enjoy and have fun. It was to release dopamine in your brain.
Exactly.
In a really kind and safe way.
It was just a time for you to either be with a family member or a friend and just have fun. You know.
Yeah.
There's no point. You know, you didn't have to fully be invested in a story or things like that. Like when RPGs slowly started becoming mainstream in the SNES era, because that's where they fully started, you know, being a part of the Western market. That's where people were really focusing on storytelling. And you can have storytelling. That's really fine. But now modern gaming, it's like, oh, it has to be a movie. It has to be this. It has to be amazing. The graphics, this, all that. It's like, no.
It's especially I don't know if you've talked about this before, but have you ever played any MMORPGs? So like Maple Story, Ragnarok. Have you played those ones?
I remember. I mean, this. No.
You didn't play any of them?
MMOs for me, funny enough, I never. It's not that I don't want to experience them. It's just that if
too much time.
It's just that it would take a lot of time. It would take a lot of my time because and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm saying that these games are so good that I would be pulling all-nighters, and I kind of respect my body. You know, like I need my sleep. I need all that.
It was like that before. Like I remember playing Maple Story for like 19 hours on end before.
Yeah, exactly.
But like it takes a toll, and the thing I hate about MMOs today, I don't know if it's changed, but from my experience, especially Genshin Impact, what else is there, like I feel Skyrim Online, like all the online the new MMORPGs, I would say that a lot of them are cash grabs now. Like everyone can get to level 200 in a matter of a day. They made it like 10 times easier. And Maple Story in like 2005 to 2013, that was a golden era for Maple Story, and like everyone had to work hard for their character, etc. But now I feel they made it easier in terms of you pay to play, and I didn't really enjoy that. But I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, no, MMOs aren't. If I had a lot of money in my bank and I like don't have to really work, and then I'll be like, I wouldn't mind streaming.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
But, yeah.
You know, man's gotta find way to make gains. So.
Get that bag as
exactly.
well. Yeah.
But what were we saying? Oh yeah, like that's the thing with Nintendo, that they don't have to be innovative. They don't have to. The reason why people love Nintendo is because they make games. They don't make.
Full stop.
They don't make experiences. Because, let's put it, okay. When was the last time you played Uncharted?
I haven't played Uncharted, actually.
Well, you
have you? Sorry.
That's like one of my favorite That's like one of my favorite games of all, like game series of all time.
Yeah.
I've only played it once and that's it. I've never gone back to play it again. I can't go back to play it again. Because
and who developed it?
Naughty Dog.
Right. Yeah. Is that like Square? Is that like PS4? Is it
PS4? It's like it's PlayStation exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't go back to playing. I can't go back. Or what's another? Spider-Man. I can't go back. I can't replay that anymore. I platinumed it too, so there's no point. The new ones, Miles Morales. I can't replay that one. I can't. Cause
you play it once and then that's it, isn't it? There's no
exactly. That's it. Why replay it? But with a Nintendo,
that's a good question, actually. Yeah.
But with Nintendo, you can go back to playing Mario Odyssey anytime you like. You can go back to playing Zelda anytime you like. You can go back to, you know, you can play any game that they have all you like, and it'll be like 5 times of playing the exact same game, but you're playing it because you're having fun. You like, even though you've experienced this once, Nintendo knows how to make you go back because they were the pioneers of video game, like a fully creating video games. Because obviously there was the Atari, but the Atari were they just didn't really understood what gaming was all about until Nintendo was move over, you know, like. So in reality, Nintendo was the pioneer of gaming. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't be having gaming.
Yeah.
You know.
And they made games to the point of you play it to have fun, and you saying to have fun is a very key aspect of it. Like for the games that you play, Uncharted, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, like those games, you played it to play it, and then to get over and done with. I think that's my emotion for those games. But for Nintendo, they do bring you back to that state of being a kid again, getting that nostalgia boost and having that tearjerker for playing those games. Exactly. And I think that's what they do really well at.
Exactly, like that's the thing. Like, you can always fight against which is better, Sony or PlayStation, but at the end of the day, everybody collectively agrees that we're all Nintendo fans.
Everyone can agree on that.
You can't pit Nintendo against all the others, because
against anyone,
Because first of all, Nintendo will lose, realistically speaking, like graphics, things like that, you know. But
specs and whatnot.
But in terms of games
and loyalty
and loyalty and the fact that in a way that they understand their community, in a way that they, even though there are business decisions that are very old-fashioned, at the end of the day they understand that these people will still go back to be playing. You know, they understand that every family will always have a Nintendo system in their house. They understand that Nintendo will always be there at the end of the day. There will always be a Nintendo in somewhere.
In every household,
Exactly, you know? So that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And another thing also is that with the way that gaming is going at this point, it's very shaky as well. You know, like, this is another thing, like,
oh my goodness, yeah, I have that feeling. Yeah, keep going.
Last year and the next few years, Nintendo has it in the bag because they didn't make a new system that had very many people are still having trouble trying to buy one, and you know, like, and they're making games for said system, so it's making it even harder for people to play and experience those games. PS5, Xbox. Nintendo's like, we still have a Nintendo Switch. We still have games.
It's been 4 years still. Yeah,
exactly.
It's like it hasn't died down. It's increased actually, especially with the Switch Lite and those coming out.
Exactly. They in terms of like who's gonna win and who's gonna have the most money in their pockets, Nintendo could, easily. Easily. Yeah. Sony and Microsoft.
They have a lot of loyalty.
Exactly. Microsoft and Sony really screwed up. But there's also it's to give them some excuse. The pandemic last year really did hit them hard, and so they're slowly going to try and remanufacture and produce more PS5s and more Xboxes and things like that. But honestly, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say because we're almost at the 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
So I know, right?
Okay. Yeah, very fast.
I know. Okay. It is what it is. They should have delayed the PS5 until this year, maybe more.
Yeah, there is a shortage of it, right?
There's a huge
still people that don't have it.
They're missing.
Like, wow.
They're missing one piece that they can't mass produce to finish producing the PS5, to finish manufacturing the PS5.
Wow.
And scalpers
Alright.
are having the time of their life, losing their money because they're like, damn, people don't want to spend $900 on this. Shit, how am I gonna pay the
Yeah.
mortgage? You know, like,
That's sad, man. I see.
yeah. So they
Right.
should have delayed it. They should have done that, and that's they're kicking the bucket for it. They really are. But that's
Yeah,
for
like
another time.
they could have had that. Is Xbox having any shortages, or is it just PlayStation?
No, Xbox as well.
Damn, they should have delayed it, man.
Yeah, they really should, and
Just for
they're
a
paying
little
the
bit.
price for it.
Yeah, but you know, how do you get up from that? That's their challenge that they have to
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
overcome now.
Right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but can't believe it. That is all the time that we have. I can't. It's been the 1 hour mark. It's ready to go.
Thank you so much for having me,
It
man.
was really nice to have you back. You're always you're always welcome to come back. You really are.
Yeah, no worries. And if you ever want, I would love to have you as a guest on our Climax and Chill Tag Climax podcast. That would be pretty cool. I'll DM you.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
Awesome.
I'll like get ready for. I'll get like Nintendo Online ready to go and things like
Oh
that.
yeah,
and then
sure,
we'll
no
go have the
problem.
time of our life.
No
Yeah.
worries, no worries.
All right. Any final remarks before I end and things like that? You know.
So, I was thinking when I woke up this morning, I have a feeling everyone has the ability to make someone else's day brighter and to make them smile. So if you can do that, if you're listening, if you can do something like that, as simple as it can be, please do it. And I think that will reciprocate into something bigger and something that will change everyone's lives, hopefully, no matter how long it will take. And a really big thing to think about is to always stay determined, stay strong whatever you're going through. And I'm sure that you are not alone. And always be safe and take care.
Man, you're really taking a page off of my book, are you, huh?
Oh, no, you're right.
I'm just kidding.
Man.
I love it. No, I love it. I love the energy. I love this energy. I love it. Okay, so
Thank you, man.
as for my ending remarks, you know how I like to end it. You know how I like to end these things. Keep being awesome. Keep being amazing people. Keep spreading love and kindness to the world.
100%.
Always improve on anything as long as it's good. And know that I will always.
And don't hurt anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And know that I will always I'm butchering. And know that I will always love you guys forever and always to 120.
120.
And I hope to see you all in the next fantastic, amazing, spectacular, and sexy video. See you guys. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.
Happy theorizing. Bye bye.